Hey, Scott.
Hey, Butch.
This is Miss June Carter. We caught her on the way to Jackson. Said
Yep.
get a little stop off visit with us.
June Jackson.
Junebug, she's also known as. Yes. This is currently the most popular breed in America, probably around the world. They got popular quicker than any other breed I ever seen get popular.
Yeah.
And they are just absolutely impossible not to love. So,
I got one of those too.
yeah, Carol Ann's got one, and this one and Carol Ann are best buddies.
Yes.
She knows how to play with them. I told her owner we got a deal going. We got a little deal going. We're going to do a little training with her. She's a 4-year-old. She needs a little bit more schooling. So I'm going to do a little bit more schooling with her, and she's going to teach me how to play the guitar.
Oh,
So,
okay.
right, June Carter? Huh? You know what, brother? Yeah, it is. I'm going to put her down and let her go about her. She wants to go see Carol Ann. That's her buddy. There you go. How doing, Scott?
All right.
I just had to show off. I love Frenchies. You got
Yeah.
one, right?
She does.
She does.
Uh-huh.
How old's yours, Carol Ann?
She's 3.
She's much fun as this one? Oh, yeah.
She's big. She's 30 pounds. She's not overweight. She's a medium-sized Frenchie. She's not a tiny Frenchie. She can outrun Spartica, my Doberman.
Really?
She'll juke her out. Kid that can't catch her.
She's fast.
She's fast.
Like a
Yeah,
rabbit.
yeah, now they are. I have
Like
noticed.
a rabbit.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. They just dart, man. They're just
Once they're low to the ground, they can corner quicker.
I thought about that, yeah. Low center of gravity, ping, ping.
It-
Okay.
It's a bulldog. It's all muscle.
Yeah. That's the truth.
I see. I got a friend that has a bulldog. What English bulldog they got?
Uh-huh.
That thing is slower than a box of rocks.
And English?
English bulldog.
Yes, yes.
So I thought she said I'm bringing home a French bulldog. I'm like, great. 'Cause I really hadn't missed him too much.
Right.
Then she brought that home and surprised me.
Yeah,
They don't look quick, but it's like a sleeper car.
She bites the sack.
You don't bite work with her, of
She
course.
does. Yes, we do.
Yep.
I had my old English Steph's dog. We did bite work with her. They can do it. I mean, they're bulldogs.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, no matter
Smart.
what. But you know what gets me about Frenchies? Because they bred the bulldogs down because their personality's so good, and made little bitty lap dogs out of them, right? Although the English bulldogs are still as tenacious as the big bulldog, they ain't made right. They can't breathe and all them other problems. It's like somehow I don't know if French bulldogs came from France or not. I got no idea. I need to look into that. But somehow they have bred bulldogs down to a little size, but kept all the athletic and fighting. They're cool little dogs.
Yes.
High on my list for folks that want a good family dog, and have a lot of money to spend.
Yeah, and then if you want to lay around, if you don't want a working dog that needs to work.
Good point.
That's
Yeah.
a perfect lap dog right there. 'Cause they'll
Yeah.
lay on you all day long. It won't. They don't need all that stimulation. They like it,
Yeah.
but
they don't need
it's
it.
like a working dog where you really have to work your dog to get it motivated and keep it,
Sharp. What do you say, Gene Carter? All right, we got a long one with hopefully a lot of helpful information. I had heard some interesting radio shows this week, not dog shows actually. Just some of the talk shows I listen to. Give them a plug with Chris Boyd on the KE on the public radio station here in Fort Worth, and she interviews everything. Just runs the whole gamut of things. And she had one. Do we let our dogs live too long? That was the topic.
What?
And I thought, I gotta listen to this.
Wow.
You know, and there was a lady. She wrote an article in the Atlantic magazine. And she's talking about all the advances in veterinary science and how dogs can be. She's not necessarily saying they live longer than they used to. She's saying they can be kept alive longer than they maybe used to. And, you know, she was the article was about the right and wrongs of using all modern science Chris Boyd is the most amazing interview person I have ever heard. I mean, she is great. If you ever write a book and you want to make it the bestseller, go to Think and get Miss Boyd to interview you, because boy, she knows how to really get them out there. And she threw this one at this lady who was talking about dogs and science. She said, "What about this new trend of corporations taking over vets, moving into the veterinary world?" And she told some stories. We're going to kind of do this, I guess you call it chronologically. We're going to start with puppies, then we're going to go to trainers, and then we're going to get into this new way to seek veterinary care and the pros and cons. But first, we're going to talk about things like little Junebug there. How do you find a good breeder? And you know, there's in the video I did about finding the breeders several years ago, you can find it on YouTube. There's 2 or 3 red flags that I think everyone should be aware of. I'm going to mention the red flags, and then I'm going to let Scott tell us about his adventures when he first got a breeder. So the red flags, the biggest one that's become popular is, I'll meet you somewhere, I don't want you to come, I'll meet you with a puppy. I will pick out your puppy and bring it to you, I'll meet you at the corner store or somewhere down the street, right? Mm-hmm. That puzzled me. And I've talked to several breeders who were doing the same thing. Their story to me was, I don't want somebody coming back stealing my dogs. And I thought, oh, well, that makes sense when you first hear it, right? And then a little later that night, I relaxed a little bit, poured back a couple of beers, and I was thinking, well, old John told me, you know, he didn't want nobody. Wait a minute. He raises 100-pound hog hunting American bulldogs. Who the hell is going to come knocking on his door to steal his puppies? Mm-hmm. With a mama bulldog there watching out for them? And since in time, I have heard more and more. I know a Connie Corso breeder told me the same thing. Working lines are up. We'll meet you. If you have a business for the public, one thing you want is you want to be seen. Everything that those breeders are doing go against good business practices. Everything. The more people come onto your property, they may not buy a thing, but they may tell 5 friends about the cool dogs they saw. You know, that's why grocery stores run what they call loss leaders. They put up, you know, they sell a tube of toothpaste for half price, hoping you'll come in, buy the toothpaste, walk out with a brush, some floss, 6-pack, you know, whatever. So you want to encourage people to come in. These people are not doing that. That's my first sign. The second sign that I get that it might be suspect of the quality of the pups is what I call the nose test. Maybe they don't want you to see the conditions they're keeping their dogs in. Because if you walk in there and you've got to hold your nose, you may kind of wonder about the health of those puppies when they first get home. There is a right way for breeders to act and for you as the consumer to take advantage of. Scott's had a little experience now in the last decade or so with dogs, and he's like everybody. He started off, you know, I guess you're just guessing what you're going after, huh? You knew what kind of dog you wanted?
Oh yeah, I knew I wanted a Doberman.
It had to be a Doberman.
Of course.
So how'd you go about it? What happened to the first one?
Well, we're talking and decided to find a breeder. Or get a dog, actually. And it just so happened that Carol was at the store and met a lady that had a female that had a litter coming in 6 weeks. We can do her ready in 5 weeks. And just a lady, wasn't a breeder.
Right.
But I guess they bred under house or whatever. But so,
backyard breeder.
Backyard breeder. Yeah. So they give me a price of the dog, and it's like, okay, it wasn't very high. So I said, that's a lot of money for me, though. $500 is a lot of money per dog.
Yeah.
Which is really not. It ain't nothing, but it's a lot of money, right? When you don't know. So we went out there and we talked to him and went over there and went to the house.
Yeah.
and it was a regular house, trailer house. We walked in.
She had four puppies.
We had 4 puppies and a female were in the house. And so the dogs were in the house. They weren't out in the shack or in the garage or in cages.
Pretty decent. Good.
So when we looked, and they weren't bad looking dogs, you know. There was 4 of them, and there was one under the couch. Wouldn't come out. When he came out, it was tight.
Oh,
I
heck.
said, okay, because the other ones were all around us, and that one there was being, I just said, you know, that's the one. I said, I want to see the stud. He had the male in the back. He didn't come in. So he went out there, and he came back in. He goes, well, he don't want to come in the house right now. I didn't think nothing of it. Like, okay,
Right.
whatever. So
Right.
I think he was scared of that dog.
His own dog.
That was a big son of a gun. He was 115 pounds.
No, he gave us an excuse. Oh, well, he knows he's not allowed in at certain
But he
times,
told- yeah,
but
but-
I can't get him in either.
He couldn't get him out. He wouldn't.
He couldn't get him
I don't
in.
think he could go in the kennel when he was out in the back and get him out. And that was a red flag, but I didn't know better. Okay, whatever. So we grabbed him, and we didn't have any. We got paperwork on him. She had a certificate, but
Yeah.
it wasn't anything. Said he was sort of, you know, it was
Right.
papers.
Right.
It
AKC.
It wasn't anything worth anything. Now that I know, but took him home and he grew up pretty good. But then all of a sudden, he gets allergies and he bled. He was allergic to, was it beef, right?
Yeah, he was allergic to beef liver, beet pulp,
Beef pulp, yeah.
flaxseed,
And beef pulps and all the dog food,
and mites. Storage mites.
storage mites,
Dust mites.
yeah, everything. He
Had
was
to put
allergic.
his food in the refrigerator.
So we had to deal with that, right? I was like, God dang, I don't have a damn Pomeranian here, which I did have one before because you know how Poms are.
Yeah.
High maintenance dogs.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden, 2 years go by, he goes to puberty. And at 3 years old is DCM. And we lost him. I had to put him down. So I was pretty bummed out.
Yeah. 3-year-old dog.
And I was like, man, that was totally, you know, it sucked.
Yep.
All that work put into that dog. I mean, we worked him out here. He was a hell of a dog. Tracker. I mean, we put hours, thousands of hours. I mean, it was ridiculous, but he
Yeah.
was on point. And it was a sad thing to lose him, but that's how it goes, I guess, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So then we come across another lady that had, I want another one.
And she came here
No,
to train her dogs.
wait a minute, no, we got Spartica first, right?
Oh, Spartacus.
So I want another one. So then a lady again that had puppies again, and so let's go look at it.
Well, she had a heart attack. She couldn't take care of
Okay,
the
well,
3 females.
okay, wait, I'm not there yet. let me go, okay? So basically, I did the same damn thing, but this time I had a little more common sense because I've been hanging with this guy, and I kind of figured it out. So I walked in, I was like, okay. I walk in, I saw the male sitting out there. He was sitting out there. He wasn't a big dog. I said, well, that's a black flag for me right there. Red flag, I want a big dog. Then I went back to actually where the dog was weaning. She went right in the house into the area she was weaning. I saw all the puppies and everything else, and I saw the female, and I was like, nah. I was out. Walking out, there's another Doberman over there, another female, about 5 months old. It was Spartica.
Oh.
And
okay.
what happened was she was saying the lady that had him, she was their European show,
Right.
cropped up, and she was pretty.
Mm-hmm.
And she, you know, so
Still
I
is.
And you know, so I looked at her, and she was something else. And she has her papers from Serbia. And if you go in the European on the online, they have
Right.
that number you can pull, and she pulls up.
Right.
So she's legit. So we've got her, and I was like, I got lucky. That was like a
Yep.
shooting an arrow in the dark. We had a good dog. So then I said, you know what? We need a male, right? All right. So then Carol Ann had someone come. What was that lady? She came out with her female. Remember?
Oh,
trained
yeah.
her
She trained-
Doberman.
Right.
Two were
Right.
Dobermans.
Right.
And these females were
Big dogs.
big
Yeah.
old dogs. I'm like, wow, beautiful dogs. So we said we're looking for one. So their breeder, Alan's out of Waco.
Right.
And they called him because he's very particular about who he sells his dogs to. He screened us, and the only way you're getting it is by someone that knows you, or you have to meet him at his house. That was his whole criteria. That right there told me, okay, this guy's
You have to meet him at his house.
at his house. You have to go to his house and meet him. And we got a referral because the only way we could go over there, we got a referral from the lady that had bought dogs from him before, had one of his females. So we ended up going down there, pull in, down in Waco, and didn't see the puppies yet. He goes, "How you doing?" We talked a bit, felt each other out. Then he goes, "Come on back here. I want to show you the sires and the line." So he had the grandparents, the parents, and some of the other dogs of the breeds pre-breeding. He had three, four generations.
Wow.
But he had all the studs and females there in the back
And you could see them.
in a yard, giant yard, not in pens, in a yard.
Oh, even better.
And the females live in the house with him. He took care of them in the house.
Wow.
And in the front yard, I walked up and he had these pens for puppy training pens, corrals, and where he would do stuff with his grandkids. They were working the dogs. So then they brought the 4 dogs out. It was two red females, and Aries and another pup. So I started looking at the teeth and the heel and the line. I started searching the dog out and asking questions, and so we kind of it worked out, and we got him.
I'd say so.
And you see him in here almost every week.
Yep.
And he's very healthy, and all the dogs off his lines. That female, I've seen her. She's as big as Aries is.
Yeah.
That's
you told me
Rocco.
she was.
Rocco
Yeah,
was his grandfather.
Rocco, yeah.
But
So you can.
it was very professional.
Yes.
It wasn't just you want a cup of coffee and these are the puppies and the kids.
Show me
everywhere.
some money.
Yeah. No, this was actually, here's what I've got. I met you now. Let me show you where the dog. It wasn't just puppies. It was the whole.
Right.
Saw his facilities. Met him. Got screened to even get out there to get him. But there was no contract signed as if I can breed him or not. That's another thing they can do. And had all the paperwork from the dogs, the whole line, everything else. Everything was legit. So they're all papered and everything else.
Yeah.
That's a big deal in a purebred dog.
Yeah. So here's your breeding tip. And I understand the vast majority of people are not going to go spending the money and the time that Scott did on his second dog after he learned his first lesson. But think about trying this. Very simple little system. When you go buy your first dog, if you're a newly married couple, if you've never owned a dog, you don't really understand much about it. And it's an easy place to get ripped off. End up like Scott did, lose your 3-year-old dog who dies because he's poorly bred. So if you're starting out in life and you want a dog, you need to learn about dogs. Think about it this way. This is what I recommend to everybody. Go to your local shelter.
Yep, a lot of good dogs in shelters.
Yeah.
Good dogs.
They're grown. You can see their personalities. So some great dogs.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah. So start your dog future with an adult already formed, got his personality. Shelters will take him back if there's a problem. Rescue groups, whatever. Watch some of the rescue groups. They're just backyard pet stores, but
My friend Hal and Lori, they did a couple rescues. They got one, I can't remember the dog's name, but he was, I think, about 15 years old. They rescued him, and now they got another one, and they're raising him. Is that pointer I showed you?
oh yeah.
So,
yeah.
and they're proof right there, and they got good dogs. The dogs are great. They started with a mature dog, and this time around they went with a puppy.
Got a younger.
So they're going from 0 up.
Yeah. And so if you start off like that, you're going to have a chance to learn about the dog. You're not going to have near as many frustrations because chances are pretty good they'll already be housebroke because they are going to be older. Remember, the personality that you see these shelter dogs, the personality they exhibit in a shelter is not going to be their real personality.
No, they're usually scared.
Yeah. They're going to be a lot better and
Timid,
calmer.
right?
Yeah, when they get them home. So start your dog journey there. Then, when you think, or when it's time, and if you've gotten into dogs a little bit deeper, then, call somebody like me and figure out the breed you want. Avoid these mistakes. Don't go to any breeder who tells you don't come to my house. If you get a breeder who wants to interview you, this guy's for real.
He cares about them dogs.
That's what?
He cares.
Yeah, he cares.
So there's a reason.
Yeah. Now here's another, to me, this is a red flag, but it's kind of a personal thing. It's the big thing now with a lot of the kennel clubs to put down restricted breedings if you're going to buy a dog. You know, and again, I'm old and I'm old-fashioned. But if I buy a puppy and hand you my money, and I take that puppy, he's mine. So I'm going to put this up as a personal red flag. It really has nothing to do with anything other than the fact you might be dealing with an overly greedy breeder when they tell you you got to spay and neuter that dog by a certain age, we'll get into that in a little while. You know, in my thinking, once I hand you the money, that dog is my dog. I will breed it if I want to breed it. I will neuter and spay it if I want to neuter and spay it. So let's get into dog training. How do you find a good dog trainer? You got this dog from the shelter. He's got some bad habits. He hadn't been around people. You got to get him fixed. I don't know, and that's a toughie. How do you really know if you're getting a good? I'm throwing this in Scott's lap because I'm just looking for some help.
Looking? What kind? It's your first dog?
Yeah.
So you want baby? You're not really targeting a specific.
You're not a working dog.
Genre.
You're not, right.
Just you want some basic obedience, basic this and that.
Yeah.
Just to learn.
Yeah. Anybody can be a dog trainer.
Well, yeah.
Anybody.
Go to Google.
Huh?
Go to Google.
Yeah, go to Google. You'll see them everywhere. And you know, there's a lot of people.
Well, one, you gotta, to me, see, we heard through the word of mouth. We were looking for a personal protection training dog.
Right.
The dog, we weren't worried about the obedience. I thought we weren't right, but it all goes hand in hand.
Right.
But we came out and went to another place before I came here and checked them out. I actually went to their facilities, looked them up, called, made an appointment, and went over there and met with them to feel them out. Like a breeder felt me out, I was feeling them out. And just seeing, the program and, if they were blowing smoke up my ass or if they were actually legit,
Training dogs, yeah.
And I said, I don't know. And we came here and we interviewed you, remember? Mm-hmm. We sat out here for almost an hour talking. And that there, Butch put up my mouth asking questions for an hour, kind of said, okay, this guy probably be all right then. But
that's a good
But
idea.
check the website out, came to the facilities, met the instructors, met the owner. That's how I do it.
Right.
And I had no idea.
That's about
I never had any real
formal
training.
But there was another thing that Butch offered. He said, we train on these particular nights, Tuesdays and Saturdays. Why don't you come out, meet the other people that bring their dogs?
Yep, that's right. Bring your dog.
And bring your dog and watch us train and see if we're gonna fit for you.
Yep.
Right. Yeah,
there was no sales pitch.
No.
Because the other place I went to was like a car dealership. They were trying to push packages on me. Like, well, we got this, and there's the first thing. It's like, no, don't worry about the money. I don't care. I know what I want. But we got this, and I started looking, and they had a level 1 package, level 2 package, level 3, and I'm like, okay, that's a lot of stuff. Then I came here and was like, what do you mean level 3 package? I said, well, these guys know. This is what we do. And you tell us what you want your dog to do, and we'll work that, and we'll have a program made for the dog, and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
And that's basically all you can ask. Aside from doing a board and train, which I was not going to do because I wasn't really wanting to get into that with that dog.
Right. And then, so there's two things I'd say about what Scott just mentioned. First, on the board, here's a red flag for you to look out for. The board and train, most people are nervous about leaving their dog, not seeing their dog for 2 weeks. I got poor little June's owner, they're all, so that's why we do the videos. But we have a lot of people say, can we come out, it's a 2-week deal, can we come out at the end of the week and play with their dog? You're going to meet a lot of trainers who say, nope, once the dog's here, you can't come back, can't do nothing. Now, they do that. When people ask me that, my response is real simple. It's your dog. Hell yeah, you can come visit your dog. I have no right, authority, or inclination to tell you what you can or cannot do with your dog. That's not right. I do explain to the people, though, sometimes if you come out in the middle, if you got a dog who's been it's like when kids go to summer camp in the first week, they're, You know, so you always run the risk when you come out and see the dog in the middle of a board and train of you playing with the dog's happy, life is good again, and then you leave the dog a second time and he watches you drive off. And you may set back training 2 or 3 days. And I tell people, I don't care if you do, I'll just give you 2 or 3 extra days. But that's the one red flag that I can think of for the board and train program. When they look at you and tell you what you can do with your dog, what are you hiding? And the second thing, especially, now this will go into the working dog community. There's a lot of people in the old clubs, and I won't mention the names of the sports and such, they won't let anyone even, you hand your dog to the trainer, you go in, they back time, they do the bite work, and you, like Carol Ann just said, if you can't be invited to sit in on a training session with the dog, other people's dogs, finished products, starting products, whatever, if they're not comfortable with you coming in and watching them perform, I don't think I'd deal with them. That's red flag time. So.
You got plenty of seating out there.
That's what?
You got plenty of seating out there.
Yeah. So let's go to the. Here's the biggie. This is going to affect everybody, and this is what I was talking about with Chris Boyd and Think and the program. She asked this lady about the new trend towards corporations buying out vet practices. So here's what, and she told her this story. She said she was thinking about writing an article just about that. Because in investigating this other stuff, she ran across this story. This couple had a, 16, I think she said 14, 15-year-old dog. They, like the other people in the article, they put off putting it down, put it off, trying to, and they finally came to the decision that it was, it was just suffering. So they were using one of these new corporate vets. They're in the pet stores, and I'm going to say the name, Banfield, VCA, PetSmart. I just saw another new one that just opened up. They went in there, and the vets, before they left, they have a dog suffering. The first thing the vet says, well, put it down, let me see it walk around. They're wanting to examine this dog. And it walked in circles. And the vet concludes, oh, it's just got an ear infection. So they cleaned the ears. And they put it on the ground and still walked in circles. They then concluded something else was wrong. After a half an hour and a $480 bill, this lady said, I'm sorry, my dog's, this is not. She took her poor old dog, carrying it out to the car. She got in her car. One of the people from the vet's office, a lady, comes outside, says, excuse me, ma'am, excuse me. She walks over to her, she looks around to make sure no one's looking, and she says, here's a phone number for a vet that'll help you. She handed her the piece of paper and turned around and walked back in, because she knew what those people were doing was wrong. I could tell you several stories like that I've run across. An 18-year-old cat, and the vet told the lady who's a friend of mine, personally I know, that there's a state law that says they have to examine animals before they can put them down, and if they think it can be saved, they have to initiate all those protocols.
Shit.
Yeah, and this was 10 or 12 years ago at a PetSmart, and she walked out of there. Finally, they did put their poor old 18-year-old cat down. She's on Social Security and a little bit of retirement. $800.
Yep. $
800. So, That's the sad part. Now, what do you do about it? Why does it work like this? You think a vet is a vet. They all go to vet school. They all graduate from vet school. This is how it actually works. And this lady said this in that interview with Chris Boyd. When a corporation buys a vet, or when they start a vet practice, they buy out a practice, whatever, as the lady who wrote the article told Chris, a corporation's first concern, first responsibility is making money, right?
Quota.
Quota.
Yep.
Get the bucks. Make shareholders happy. So what they do when they saw the money that people will spend for their pets, they worked out protocols. So in the old days, you walk into your vet's office and he'd look here and he'd poke there and ask you a few questions and he'd feel there. And then he'd say, he'd take a temperature. She crashed. Take a temperature, you listen to the heart, and then he'd say, I think it's such and such, such and such. But let me run this test to make sure. Today, really at all the vets, but more especially the corporate vets started this. You walk in, he looks at him and he says, and he looks at the gums and he pokes this and he takes a temperature and he says, okay, let's run some tests. To which I began replying, no, you're the vet. Tell me what you think is wrong with my dog. That's what I'm paying you to do. Then, when you have an idea, then you can confirm it with a test. Because here's something few people know, and I was quite surprised. Parvo, which we know is one of the biggest problems of in the dog world, when they give you that snap test for the parvo, personal experience, Denise, we took her ladybug, little pug, 10 months old, coughing, diarrhea. We go down to Dr. Lumpy, and experienced vet. I'm going to tell you how to find a good vet when we're done with this story. Looks at him and says, she's got parvo. And he said, well, okay, let's run a test. Runs a test. Test comes back positive. She got parvo. Dr. Lumpy looks at Denise and says, she doesn't have parvo. And then he says, yes, she does. Give me. What are we going to? And Dr. Lumpy says, take this and this and this, go home, and then call me tomorrow if you have a problem. Then he says, well, no, don't we need to? Isn't she dehydrated? He said, real simple. He said, there are dozens of viruses. Remember this, folks, that can set a snap test off as positive. That's why you'll always hear people talk about false positives and false negatives. So he was an experienced vet, and this is how vets do it. At that time, 20-something years, who came into the profession working for a vet who had an established practice, who had been in his practice for 20-something years, and he learned to diagnose, to look, feel, and touch, not just to get out the test. So when we brought Ladybug in, when he diagnosed, he said it's not parvo. Well, guess what? Went home, gave her the medicine he said, and he called me he called me. We worked a little bit together. He said, Butch, how's Ladybug? And I said, oh, she's running around here like she. He said, how's Denise? I said, oh, she's on cloud 9. He said, okay, keep her out of my office, would you please? No, I'm just kidding. He didn't really. So, so let me. Here's how it works. If you're going to go in the future, when you go into a corporate vet's office, they have a procedure that they've got to follow. They got to do this many tests. They got to spend this many minutes. They got to check this many parts and places, and everything they're doing is charge.
Ching.
So, all right. So I went to a master farrier horseshoer school, right? I forget, it was 16 weeks or something like that, full time, every day, just shoeing horses. 16 weeks shoeing horses, studying books all morning, shoeing horses, mules, everything else every afternoon. Oklahoma School of Horseshoeing, right up the road there outside Oklahoma City. And the day we graduated from the from the master's horseshoeing class, Dr. Roth, the man who ran the place, doctor, a veterinarian, large animal vet, he stepped up, and a lot of people had their family come. Now, this is a big place. We had students from Italy, all these foreign countries. We had somebody from Maine. I've never heard of that one at the time, but he was actually a guy from Maine there.
Yeah.
And Dr. Ross stood up in front of everybody. They got their wives there. They got, some of them had their parents there. Congratulations, you've all graduated from the master's class of horseshoeing and farrier and blacksmithing. You're now qualified to go out into the world and cripple a whole lot of horses. Because you don't know squat about with experience. You hadn't put your hands on that hoof. You haven't looked into it with your own eye. You just know what you read in the book. And what you read in the book could have 27 different meanings. So the medical profession for humans, I don't know when, or maybe from the beginning, started the internship program, where you graduate from med school and you go to intern for 5 or 6 years, working 16 hours a day, 6 days a week, and you learn hand. Did we kick off? Are we still on?
It kicked off.
Kick it back us on.
I'm trying, it's not letting me.
Mm.
Nope, you're dead.
You turn it off and turn it back on.
Yeah, but they have to redo it.
What you doing? What you doing? Come here. Give me that. Give me that. Give me that. Give me that. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Who did my honey? But you pretty girl.
Oh, yes,
You
you're
pretty
good.
girl. You pretty girl.
Oh Lord, Lord, it's hard to be.
Yeah, it's
alone.
getting
It's not.
almost done.